Welcome to Sha Haiti TV Broadcasting Center. I would like to say thanks God. I'm here to introduce the show this morning. What we're going to see on the show, we're going to see segment. The reason I speak English because we have English viewer, we have Asian viewer, but that segment just in English. The rest of the show will be in Creole. But
that kind of successful. My parents were very successful restaurant bar owners. And I followed in my grandparents' and parents' footsteps, and I'm a two-time business owner here in the state after attending Seton University in South Orange for 6 years, where I got my bachelor's in accounting and my master's in finance. And so when I'm asked, why are you running for governor? It's really simple. I want today's New Jerseyans and future generations of New Jerseyans, no matter what their skin color, no matter what their race, creed, or color, no matter what their zip code, feel confident they can achieve their American dream right here in New Jersey. And so today, sadly, a great many people don't feel confident about achieving their American dream here in New Jersey. Whether it is the education of their dreams, the job of their dreams, raising a family here, starting a business here, retiring here. These are all the things that people feel insecure, if not fearful of today. And so I believe that we can fix that. I believe leadership matters. When something I love is broken, I want to fix it. And things are broken here in New Jersey, particularly in some of our urban centers, where we don't see the two things that I think all Americans want foremost: opportunity and security. Opportunity comes in the form of educational opportunity. And then if you take advantage of a great educational opportunity, the economic opportunity that comes with it. And then when you achieve those two things, you usually can achieve security. Now, 8 years ago, our current governor came to places like Irvington and Patterson and Newark and Trenton and Atlantic City and Camden and promised educational justice, economic justice, environmental justice, social justice. We're almost 8 years later. I haven't seen any of that. I haven't seen any of that. And so I'm not here to make you promises that I'm not going to keep. What I am going to tell you is that as your governor, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure there's every opportunity for each and every New Jerseyan to achieve their dreams right here. And in our urban centers, I think that must start with educational choice. Now, the Democratic Party will often try to say, particularly to minority communities, that we do a better job of representing you than Republicans, that we'll fight for you. I ask you, who is it that truly has educational choice? People who can afford to send their kids to private school. Who is it that can't afford, doesn't get educational choice? People that can't afford to send their kids to private school. Now, that's not just an urban area issue. There's people in the suburbs, too, no matter what their race, creed, or color, that may not be able to afford private school. But here's my point. We need to fix the educational system today. Today. In Newark alone, 80% of 8th graders are not on grade level for reading, writing, and math. The data is pretty clear. If you're not on grade level for critical life skills like that, by the time you're done with 8th grade, you will be underemployed most of your life. Okay? And so we need to get people on grade level. So what I'm going to do on day one is hold our public school systems accountable all throughout the state. What we need to do is get more rigorous with our academic curriculum. What we need to do is get back to emphasizing critical life skills like reading, writing, and math. There are other things being taught in our schools that I personally believe, and I think you're in agreement, that belong at home between parents and their children. What we need in New Jersey is something that Louisiana implemented in the post-pandemic when there was so much learning loss because the schools were closed. Here in New Jersey, those schools were closed for 2 years. This is a governor that opened up our nursing homes but closed down our schools during the pandemic. I want you to think about that for a second. Let me repeat that. He opened up the nursing homes but closed down the schools. 2 years. And we had significant learning loss in the state. And so what we desperately need is what Louisiana did, and something I've been advocating for since the time of the pandemic, a high-impact curriculum. What is that exactly? If your child is behind grade level in critical life skills like reading, writing, math, we will spend the entire next marking period and the one thereafter getting them up to speed, getting them on grade level for reading, writing, and math. We need a high-impact curriculum in New Jersey. That's something we can do today. The other thing that we can do tomorrow is provide educational choice with a voucher program like we've seen in Arizona, Ohio, and Florida, and also educational choice through charter schools. Now, during the Christie era, and I didn't necessarily agree with everything that Governor Christie did, but one thing I thought he did right, he opened up charter schools in urban areas. And the charter schools in Newark are some of the best performing schools in the state. And isn't it interesting that every time there was a charter school, there's a lottery to determine who is fortunate enough to get in. And what breaks my heart is each time one of those charter schools has tried to open through the lottery, the demand has exceeded the supply, which means some families were going back to what they thought was a failing school system. So think about that for a second. So what we can do today is a high-impact curriculum. What we can do tomorrow is educational choice through vouchers and through charter schools. And that is the first thing that we need to do, quite frankly, not just in our urban areas, but all throughout the state where a school system is failing their students. What determines if a school system is failing their students? Attendance rate, graduation rate, performance on standardized tests, readiness for career if the child is not going to college. Talk to county clerks today. When 18-year-olds are coming in to register to vote, they're printing their name on the application. So if we as a society have decided to stop teaching script or cursive, we're not going to at least teach our children how to sign their name? I mean, even if you have an e-document, do you not have to sign your John Hancock? Right? This is what's going on today. So first and foremost, as governor, my job is to get our educational system back on track all throughout the state, but particularly in those school systems that are failing their students. And with educational opportunity, then comes economic opportunity. So let's get our schools to be performing well. Something else I want to do in our major urban centers. We need urban revitalization while being very, very sensitive to gentrification. Now, we've seen magnificent urban development, urban renewal on what is called the Gold Coast of Jersey City. There's only one problem with that, gentrification. In a very, very insensitive way, the people who lived there for decades were relocated, dislocated, and shown no respect for. If we're going to have urban redevelopment, the people who live there now have to be given the first opportunity to take advantage of the economic opportunity that comes with urban redevelopment. And so that's what we're going to do in our major urban centers, and in so doing, make people of all race, creeds, and color want to live in our urban centers again. Many of the suburbs that we see all throughout New Jersey are beautiful, but suburbs are not the engines of economic growth. Vibrant cities are the engines of economic growth. It's vibrant cities. And so we need to make our cities vibrant again. We see pockets of vibrancy. We see business owners taking it upon themselves to open up their businesses. But what I want to see in our major urban centers are two additional things. One, our banks are not adhering to the Commercial Lending Act. What does that mean? You know what that means. They're not making a certain percent of their loans available to minority communities in our urban centers. That was the whole point of the Commercial Lending Act, so that people of color can get access to capital. As governor, I'll make sure that our banks adhere to the Commercial Lending Act. What I also want to see us do in our major urban centers is set up an economic development authority within state government, something I call franchise universities, where you go and you can attend a course over 1, 2, or 3 months and learn how to own a franchise, right? And so with the type of urban renewal I've spoken of, and that includes low, moderate, and market rate units, and with the type of economic development I've spoken of, that really touches upon something that's critically important for our minority communities. Because in this country, you build equity through home ownership, you build wealth through business ownership. And we're not seeing that happen in our communities of color, and that's wrong. So I'm committed to making all that happen. I do want to open up the floor for questions. I'm not somebody that likes a long monologue. I prefer a dialogue. And Jessica's not allowed.
This is time now for everybody, our country, to come together. We want to come together, whether it's Republican or Democrat or liberal or conservative. It would be so nice if we could come together and straighten out the world and straighten out the problems and straighten out all of the death and destruction that we're witnessing. That's practically never been like this. It's just so important, and I want to make that a very big part of our message. We're going to come together. It's going to happen soon, too. It's going to happen soon.